our 14 chimpanzees. I work in the Learning and Engagement Department, and today we're going to be talking about our members of our troop here. And they're also getting some lunch today, so you're here at a really special time. And as you can see, their zookeepers are coming up over the wall, so if you show your attention, she's got a little bell. She's ringing that lunch bell, telling the chimps that it is time for lunch. Like I said, we have 14 individuals in our troop. That is what a group of chimpanzees is called, a troop. And that consists of 8 females, 8 girls, and 6 males, 6 boys. You will see our zookeepers are throwing the food down from the upper level down to our chimpanzees, and they have a very specific pattern in which they feed the chimpanzees. Chimps live in a very specific hierarchy. Hierarchy is kind of what we call when there is more of an alpha member of the group, some subordinate members of the group. So usually as the keepers are throwing food down, they are feeding the alpha members, the higher up, the more powerful members of the group first, and then they'll feed the more subordinate members. Keeping that hierarchy and that social system in the same way that they want it is going to keep them all a lot happier. So we want to keep that up in their hierarchy. That is okay. You'll probably hear lots of different noises. The noises that they're making, that is how they vocalize or they communicate to each other. So they don't exactly sound like us. Like I sound a little different than they are right now, huh? A little different. Their main noise is called a pant hoot. Pant like what a dog does and hoot like what an owl does, a pant hoot. That's their main form of vocalization. And where do you notice that the keepers are in relation to our animals today? Are they in the same space as our animals today? Shake your head yes or no. Are they in the same space? Very good. So that's very important too. We want our chimpanzees to stay chimpanzees and stay in their social group. We don't want to integrate ourselves into the chimpanzees. We don't want to disrupt their hierarchy. So most of the time we do a protected contact is what we call it, where our keepers are always physically distanced from our animals. Very good. Like I said, they're throwing some food down today. Can anyone notice what they're throwing? Can we notice anything that they're eating? Does it look familiar? Do we see, obviously some oranges? I'm hearing different fruits and vegetables. So this is lunchtime. They already got breakfast earlier on today, probably before the zoo opened. Those vocalizations are all really good. That's just them communicating. They might be communicating to our zookeepers up top saying, hey, it's my turn, throw me a piece of food. Or they could be communicating to each other being like, hey, I wanted that orange, you got that orange. And that's totally okay. But they do get lots of fruits and vegetables. That is the primary part of their diet. These guys do eat both fruits and vegetables, but they do also eat meat. Most of the time here at the zoo, their meat is going to come from what we call a little biscuit. We get a little biscuit that has all their protein material in it. But this afternoon looks like we're getting lots of good fruits and vegetables. Good job. Looks like they're enjoying it too. You notice how they all got very quiet once food started coming. There's lots of different ways we can recognize the members of our troop. Lots of different times they'll sit kind of in the order of their hierarchy as well. Sometimes the more dominant or alpha members will put themselves literally higher up on the habitat here. But it also depends on who they're sitting with, as they do live in what we call a fission and fusion society. Fission meaning that they're kind of breaking up and going into smaller groups during the day, and fusion is when they all come together as one big group at the end of the night. That's usually around bedtime for them. So fission during the day, they're going to go in their little subdivisions, and then at night they'll all sit and sleep together in one big unit. Good job. There's lots of ways that we can kind of start noticing differences and similarities in our chimps as well. So if we want to tell the difference maybe in age, that's sometimes a fun thing to look at. Who's maybe our older members and who's our younger members. The easiest way to do that is actually by looking at their skin tone. So if you're looking at the parts of skin that we can see, usually around the face, sometimes around the hands, the lighter, more peachy color of the skin. What are we talking about, friends? The lighter, more peachy skin tones, that is going to be our younger chimpanzees. Our youngest chimpanzee in the group is about 9 years old right now. We have Johari and Oliver, our 2 younger boys. And then we've got some older members of our group. As the chimpanzees age, their pigment in their skin is going to get much darker. It's way more pigmented and a lot darker as they age. So if you see some of our members up top there, they've got way more dark skin. if we're trying to tell the difference between boys and girls, we do have to look at an area that's not always the most pleasant to look at, but we're going to look at their behind areas. Sometimes you might notice that some of the behinds are a little swollen, a little pink. Those are the girls. So the girls swell and get those enlarged kind of pink back areas, and that's how we know that's a female. And the ones with the flatter, more hair-covered behinds, those are our boys. The oldest member in our group, her name is Regina. Regina is 40 years old, 40. And let me see if I'm looking right at her today. I think she was up top a minute ago. Oh yeah, she's at the very top up here, kind of sitting next to one of our other females. That might be Gracie she's sitting next to. So at the very far top, Regina, she's easy to tell. She's kind of got a balding forehead. It's kind of white, and it's kind of a receding hairline, if you will. The amount of hair that they have on their bodies, kind of like humans, can be totally genetic, where some people grow more hair than others, some people have less hair than others. That's, again, totally normal. But sometimes it's also due to over-grooming. Grooming is a sign of affection and love and breeding for each other. So sometimes you'll see parents grooming their children, siblings grooming each other, and sometimes if they over-groom, they might lose some of their hair. Again, yeah, what do we see them munching on? Any of our favorite snacks today? Oranges. Yeah, those oranges look really good and refreshing today. Does anyone have any questions about our chimpanzees while we're done? Anyone want to ask any questions? And also just observe and watch chimp behavior. It's very fascinating. We have a little question up top. Can you yell? Can you be nice and loud for me?
How do they digest the peel of that orange?
That's a fantastic question. And he said, how do they digest the peel of the orange? Well, let's look a little closer. So I'm seeing actually a lot of the peels already on the ground. So I don't think they're actually eating the peel. So in the same way, when we eat an orange, we usually peel it with our fingers, right? One of the things I love to look at chimpanzees is how similar they sometimes look to us. They have fingers like we do. Not many other animals that you probably saw today have fingers, huh? Do elephants have fingers? Do giraffes have fingers? Oh, not quite. But our primate friends do have fingers like we do. So they do have the ability to use and manipulate them in the same way we do. So they'll peel the orange. I've seen them peel corn on the cob. They'll take the entire husk off the corn on the cob and they'll eat the corn on the cob kind of like we would. So they do have those fingers like we do. So very good question. They're not digesting the peel. They're just peeling it off and eating the inside. Good question. One of the other similarities that's really fun with chimps I love to look at is their ears. Their ears kind of look like ours too, huh? Not many other animals. Again, think of an elephant, a dog, a cat. They have very different ears than us. But our chimpanzee friends have very similar big floppy ears, kind of like we do. And that's Regina that we pointed out earlier. This lady sitting right on top of the hill, making a little bit of a mess with her food this afternoon. She's earned it. She is a sweet girl. Again, 40 years old. Not quite an alpha in the female category of chimps. There's not really an alpha, but she is a more powerful, more established female in our group. And usually only the males have that dominant alpha characteristic. And our male is Glenn. I might be looking at Glenn over there. I'll have to wait until he gets a little closer. But he is our alpha male. Good job. Any other questions? Right now we have 14 chimps total. Right now 6 males, 8 females. So 6 boys. So we're asking about breeding. So we were questioning, do we have any breeding going on right now? The answer is actually no. They do the behavior that leads to mating and breeding. However, our females are on birth control, human grade birth control, because we don't want an abundance of chimps. That is the best way to explain that, because they're very prolific. They have no problem with the mating behavior. We also want to control who they're mating with. We don't want any inbreeding to happen. And even though this is a large group of 14, we don't want dad finding interest in his daughter, brother and sister finding interest. So when we do choose that we want 2 to mate, we'll give them some privacy in a different area of the habitat where we can kind of let them breed. Very good question. We got about 5 more minutes. We can answer a few more questions, and we keep observing our chimpanzee troop today. Again, with that fission and fusion society, where they kind of separate into subdivisions and then come together. When everyone's nice and calm, they do like to sit close to each other. That is where they feel safe. So if they are doing something like eating or if they're sleeping, there's strength in numbers. And again, those vocalizations, that's so fun to hear. Sometimes that sounds a little scary, huh? Because it's kind of loud. But imagine when you're feeling a lot of things too. They have a lot of emotions like we do. So whether they're feeling excited or nervous or scared, but just happy, they're just going to express that in the best way they know how to. So it gets a little loud sometimes. So I get a little loud when I get excited too. Sometimes they'll react to things like that helicopter. Maybe they heard that way before we did, and that was instigating some vocalizations today. Checking out our group here, it looks like our friend Yoshi is the one in the front kind of holding what looks like she might have an onion. Can anyone have better eyes on that than I do? It might be an onion today. Did I look at her to give up? Yeah, you might have better eyes than I do. But Yoshi, she's easy to find because she almost looks like she has gray sweatpants on. So it looks like Yoshi. I always think Yoshi like from Mario Kart. She's wearing her gray sweatpants to play some video games. That's not why she was named that, but it's a fun way to remember her name. Good job. And this is when they're very much quiet and at peace, just munching on their snacks. Usually in a typical day, our chimpanzees are going to get 200 pounds of food every day. 200 pounds. I mean, that is divided between the 14 members of our group. So not 200 pounds per individual, but 200 pounds of food every single day for our chimpanzees. This is one of our younger boys walking in front of me here. Can't quite see his face, so it's hard to tell. That might be Mshindi or Oliver. Let's see. Well, we do have a very good group. Those three younger boys that we do have are 9 and 10-year-old boys. They're kind of at that cusp. They're at those ages where if you do hear any vocalizations later that sound a little crazy, it's probably due to the younger boys. So if you know any young boys in your family or in your group, they're kind of at that cusp where they're not really baby anymore, but they're not quite an adult yet, and they're kind of trying to prove themselves. But then they also try to be really cute and sweet to some of the girls sometimes, but then they're like, hey, I'm big and strong. So usually, if you hear a lot of ruckus coming from the chimpanzees, it's usually those younger boys kind of pushing the buttons of the older members of the group. Well, good job, friends. I have time for 1 or 2 more questions. Anyone else have anything to say? Yeah, so the question was, do we do this every single day? And yeah, so the chimps are always going to get fed around this time, so 12:45 every single day. This is going to be their lunchtime. So if you're ever coming back to the zoo, you can definitely come back. And we're going to be here every day around that time too. Very good. Well, if there's no more questions, I'll be here for at least the next about half an hour. So you can always come up to me if you want to ask a more personal question or have a discussion. I'll be here, but please enjoy our chimpanzees. And thanks for meeting our troop members today. Have a great day.
Nah.
No?
Let's keep looking.
Let's look for more.
But this one's over
Let's
here.
see,
Big
are there
fan.
more?
We're watching these two. Man, look at this, some savages.
Yeah.
Let's see who else lives here.
Hey, that's a plan. Is it good?
Udah, kita langsung.
Dude, can you imagine, like, after, like, closing time, we're just, like, talking to each other, like, dude. What did you have?
No, ya llevo la rampa.
Ay, yo lo vi, quería grabar. What's wrong with using weird stuff? Their books are actually weird. Yoshi, that's really a spice.
Let's go walk for them. Let's get to grab that way. Oh! What is the kind of I saw?
Yeah, Nike, tell me when to stop.
I can do it. You want some?
No, you don't. You guys know there's another one over there.